Next, I want to talk about the regulation of this system, the renin-angiotensin system. So we said Ang2 is this very potent pressor. So we want to make sure that we have not too much in our body and not too little, so that this needs to be fine-tuned, this needs to be regulated. And how is this system regulated? It is regulated via renin. So I have pre-drawn here again the synthesis of Ang2. We said it starts in the liver making angiotensinogen. Then this enzyme renin cuts off the decapeptide Ang1, and then the enzyme ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme, converts Ang1 into Ang2, and here we have Ang2. And Ang2 can exert its effects, and it does it mainly via this AT1 receptor. Now, how is the system regulated? The rate-limiting step is renin. So it all depends on how much renin you have. We have plenty of angiotensinogen, so the renin is the rate-limiting step. So how is it regulated? Where does it come from? Well, it comes from these juxtaglomerular cells in the kidney. And they have also AT1 receptors. So how does it help us? Well, it helps us to regulate the amount of Ang2 because there's a negative feedback. So let's say we have enough Ang2. When there's a lot of stimulation of these AT1 receptors, there's a negative feedback and we're going to release less renin. So this is a negative feedback mechanism. If we have a lot of Ang2 in our system, we want to tell our body that's enough. We don't need more. So if there's a lot of stimulation of AT1 receptors, we're going to make less renin. So that's one mechanism. There's also another receptor on these juxtaglomerular cells, and that's the beta-1 receptor. So that's an adrenergic receptor. We have learned a lot about the beta-1 receptor on the heart. It sits on the SA node, on the AV node, but it also sits in the kidney, and it helps regulate the renin. The more it gets stimulated, the more it's going to make renin. So that's a positive correlation. The more it gets stimulated, the more renin comes. Here, the AT1, this is a negative correlation. The more it gets stimulated, the less renin it makes. So now, how does it fit into our feedback mechanism, our regulation of renin? Well, think about it that way. If you have a lot of Ang2 around, we said it's a pressor. So eventually your blood pressure is going to go up. And who's going to pick up your blood pressure going up? The arterial baroreceptors. And they're going to pick this up. And what are they going to do? Do you think if your blood pressure is very high, they want to have more or less sympathetic? I hope you're going to say less sympathetic, because now our blood pressure is rising. The arterial baroreceptor and the aortic arch and the carotid sinus are going to pick this up and they're going to say, fire less sympathetic. So that's also feedback mechanism of the renin-angiotensin system via this beta-1 receptor on the juxtaglomerular cells. There are actually more feedback mechanisms, or there are more mechanisms how the renin-angiotensin system is regulated, and the other mechanisms are all happening in the kidney, and I'm not going to talk about them right now. So let's just summarize what we learned today about the renin-angiotensin system, about the renin-angiotensin system. So we talked about angiotensin 2, the important effects, the slow and the rapid pressure effects. Rapid pressure immediately mediating vasoconstriction, slow, more stuff happening in the kidney. We also talked about synthesis, how Ang2 is synthesized, and we talked about regulation. And this really is the renin-angiotensin system, and that's also sometimes abbreviated as RAS, because we start with the regulation of renin, we make this important pressor Ang2. Sometimes people also say the RAS and have another A in it, and the other A stands for aldosterone, because remember, in the end, Ang2 can also increase aldosterone secretion. So don't be surprised if you see different writings of RAS, renin-angiotensin system, or RAS, renin-angiotensin aldosterone system, because that's just another thing that angiotensin can do, release more aldosterone.